Some stories are not meant to be explained, only survived. There is a guy by the name of Marcus Bennett, age 34, former army mechanic, very practical, very logical guy. He's the type of man that felt like everything had an explanation. Ghost in the house? Probably not. Maybe an old pipe. Lights in the sky? Aliens? No. Maybe in some lifetime, but not in his. He would never believe that anything like that could possibly happen to him. All of that would change on this particular night in October. So one night, around 12:17 a.m., Marcus is leaving one of his friend's house from watching football late at night. He decides to take this country road that he's used to taking. It's a 2-lane highway, dense forest on both sides. The type that you have to watch out for deer jumping out. Marcus knew this road like the back of his hand. He knew every broken guardrail, every chipped paint, every tail light on the side of the road. He knew everything about this area, but this night was completely different. The radio crackled differently. The lights on his car dimmed. It's almost as if the battery of life was giving out on him. And then all of a sudden, silence. Nothing. No radio, no hum of the vehicle, no wind whipping past the window, nothing. He looked down at his dashboard and every light on his dashboard was on, giving very much Bermuda Triangle, if you know what I mean. Something was definitely wrong and he could tell. The temperature in his truck dropped. He could see his breath in front of him. Something was wrong. It was at this moment that Marcus noticed the thick gray fog just kind of coming into the street and forming around his vehicle. He slowed the car down before entering into the fog, but once inside, what seemed like a second, everything just disappeared. No trees, no road, no sound, no anything. Until the fog started to clear and he slams on brakes. This was the moment that not only could Marcus feel like something was wrong, he noticed that something was wrong. The dense forest that once surrounded the road that he had traveled hundreds of times was gone. There was nothing but tall stone structures for miles and miles and miles out into the darkness. There were strange orb lights glowing and some ancient hieroglyphs that looked like something he had never seen before, although it was very familiar to him. Not only could he sense something was wrong, but now he could see it. Marcus could not believe his eyes. He stared around in disbelief. His stomach tightened with fear as he looked up into the sky and realized the moon was gone. The sky was different. The stars were a different constellation he'd never seen before. Not only that, there was a long bright light rotating across the sky like a machine of some type of being watching. He reached down for his phone, but looking at his screen, he noticed that it was blank. There was no time, there was no signal, nothing, just a blank screen. So he decided to step out of the truck. And in stepping outside of his truck, there was a metallic smell in the air. It didn't smell like home. There were no insects chirping, no birds, no rustling of leaves. It's October, it's fall. There was no sound of wind or anything, just a feeling that something was watching him. Marcus felt like reality had paused. Then he noticed off in the distance, there were these 3 orbs off in those giant stone pillars, heading towards him very slowly, almost to be cautious. So Marcus began to back towards his truck when he heard these tapping sounds on his driver's side window. But when he turned around to look, nothing was there. No one was there. He continued to back towards his truck, all while keeping his gaze on these perfectly round white orbs. He tries to jiggle the handle door open and he gets into the car only to see fingers pressed against the glass window from the outside. Long fingers that did not belong to any human that he had ever seen before. And then all of a sudden, all the lights on his dashboard illuminated again. The radio began to sound off with different voices, some people crying, some people talking, distorted, but there was one voice that Marcus heard above all. And the voice said, "Wrong world." Instantly, the fog came back to the windows of the car. Everything disappeared for about 2 seconds, and then boom, he was back on the highway, driving home with the same pine trees on the same road that he had been driving for I don't know how many times over and over again. The radio was even playing his favorite song. And then when he looked at the clock, it said 12:18 a.m. Only 1 minute had passed since he had originally gotten on the road. He drove home in complete silence, knowing that what he saw was what really happened. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a trip. He hadn't done some type of weird mushrooms. This was very real for him. Marcus hadn't planned on telling anybody at all. So he goes home, he walks through the front door of his house. He's greeted by his wife who's in the kitchen cooking, as she always is, except it isn't his wife. She has the same face, the same voice, but a different hairstyle and different eyes, a different wedding ring. She hugs him with concern, telling him how tired he looks. Marcus steps back in disbelief, asking her, "Who are you?" Which she responds, "I'm Emily. Like, what's wrong with you?" It was at this moment that Marcus's face went pale because his wife's name is not Emily. Her name is Sarah. He begins searching all around the house, looking through pictures all over the wall to see if he can find pictures of him and his wife Sarah, but all he sees is him and Emily on family trips, on vacations, memories, places he's never been, all with Emily. He even went as far as to check his phone, and there were thousands of pictures of him and Emily. Driver's license contained the same picture that it would normally contain, but a different signature. What had happened? Over the next couple of weeks, things got even stranger for Marcus. Restaurants had different names. Conversations he had with friends that he doesn't remember. Movies had different endings. He was in a different life. His friends and family even started to grow concerned for him, almost like he was forgetting his own reality. So eventually Marcus just stopped asking, and he'd drive down that same road with the pine trees and the broken guardrails. And some nights he would stop and feel for a split second as if those three orbs were watching him almost as if they never meant for this to happen. So I ask you, did Marcus stumble into another parallel universe? Or did another Marcus stumble into ours? Anyway, friends, I really hope I ain't got y'all up in too much of a tizzy. If you all like this kind of content, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. Until next time, bye, friends.